This story's called The Royal Jewellers. Under the hedge, by a big green field, stood a tiny shop called Edwin Beetle and Son Jewellers. If you knelt down and peered through the window, you could see Mr. Beetle and his son Benny working in the shop, while Mrs. Beetle cooked the meals and looked after weeny baby Beetle, asleep in his nutshell cradle. The Beetles lived very comfortably, until one day a huge red tractor started to plough up the green field beside their shop. The Beetles, terrified, packed up the few things they could carry and fled till they reached the forests of Fairyland. "If we aren't safe living in Fairyland," said Mrs. Beetle firmly, "well, I don't know where we can go, indeed I don't." So, among the twisted roots of a large tree, they set up their tiny new shop with their home behind it. At first, very few customers stopped to look at the necklaces and rings. Mr. Beetle would sadly shake his head, remembering the nice shop and home he had once had. Nothing would ever be the same again, he thought. Then, one day, a beautiful golden fairy stopped and looked at the tiny shop in surprise. She knelt down so she could see better, and Mr. Beetle and Benny proudly showed her the finest jewellery. "These are wonderfully made," said the golden fairy. "Your work is so fine. May I take 3 necklaces to show the fairy queen?" Mr. Beetle made haste to wrap the necklaces in flower petals, drying them into neat parcels with grass blades, and gave them to the fairy. The next day the golden fairy reappeared. "Mr. Beetle, the queen loves your necklaces, and she wants to buy all 3, she said, smiling. "She offers you 3 wishes in payment, and she would also like to order a very special tiara with a matching necklace and bracelet to be made in gold and many coloured precious gems." Mr. Beetle was at first delighted, but then he became anxious. Where could he get all the gold and different coloured jewels he would need for such an order? "Dearie me," chuckled Mrs. Beetle, "you've got 3 wishes, haven't you? Wish first for a gold and jewel mine deep beneath this tree. Second, for a lovely new shop that's big enough to live in too. And third, for a food cupboard that fills up again after you've taken things out." So that is what he did. Now a quaint little shop stands among the twisted tree roots. Inside, Mr. Beetle is always busy at his workbench, while Mrs. Beetle looks after baby Beetle and cooks such delicious treats that there is nearly always a visitor dropping in for a chat and a slice of freshly baked cake. And every time Mr. Beetle needs another diamond, or an emerald, or a golden nugget, Benny nips down the tunnel to the mine below. Whenever anyone is sad about their life, Mrs. Beetle simply smiles and says, "Never give up hope. Look at us. We lost everything. Then overnight things changed, and here we are better off than we ever were before."